Hello, gorgeous, and a warm welcome to Accepting. I'm Aline, your host, and in this episode, we actually are back under the tree of love. So hopefully, you will feel this energy. We're still convalescing with our ankle up, and this has just happened. So, really felt to share with you because this episode, we're continuing the theme of love over fear. And in this episode, we're going to be really feeling into listening to our body the first time. So get yourself cozy, get yourself really comfortable, grab yourself a cup of tea. If this is helping you, please review so other people can find us, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you can get all the information through as soon as possible. Thanks so much for listening. Enjoy. Welcome to Accepting, where I guide you to accept all aspects of your beautiful self. Embrace your truth and live your life that way. Hello, gorgeous, and a warm welcome to Accepting. So we're back under the tree, and I really felt to share this episode now because following on from the previous episode, we were really feeling into being comfortable, listening to our bodies, going at our own pace, etc., etc., etc. And what I really felt to share in this episode is what happens when we don't, because this is exactly what's just happened to me. So just to give you a little bit of context, I mentioned about my ankle in the last couple of episodes. I'm due to travel at the end of the month to go somewhere to complete a project for a few weeks. And for peace of mind, I booked an appointment with the nurse so she could have a look at my ankle. And my plan was, it's going to be fine. I'll just let it settle itself and I'll cancel the appointment. Then I was influenced by, oh, well, maybe I should have it because that would put everybody's mind at rest. So anyway, we went this morning. I could already feel the build up. And we arrived. Everything was going smoothly. It was the most that I walked to get to the hospital since I've done this to my ankle. And then I really felt I was in the wrong place because what happened was the app on my phone didn't work. It wasn't showing me the place. One of my family members said it's there. And I said, I really don't think it is. So anyway, it was all going swimmingly. I went into one of the waiting rooms and I said, is this for the lady that I was supposed to be seeing? And they said, yes, this is Enfermeria. And I said, is this the only one? And one of the ladies said, there's another one up on the second floor, which I was so sure I was supposed to be in on the second floor, consultation 2, because I've been looking at the appointment for the past few days anyway. And then what happened was, so I made my way up to the second floor. Again, as I said, it's the most I've walked on the ankles. I had both supports on and saw a very lovely lady pretty much immediately. And she looked at my ankles and she said, well, have you seen the doctor? I said, no, because there's no appointments for the doctor. And she had a look at my ankle and she said, I think it's going to be another few weeks. There's nothing to be alarmed, which I knew because it's just been healing and resting. I've been doing all the good things. And then she mentioned about the doctor. Well, if you've had torn ligaments over, throughout your life, then perhaps it's best to see the doctor. So instead of going with my intuition, which was I'll just see the nurse, that would be fine, all done, off we go. We then went back downstairs and I started waiting in line in a very crowded area that wasn't a waiting room. It wasn't silence, please. There were a lot of people there. There was a lot going on. And although I had all of my tools, I'd only kind of planned to be there for 20 minutes max. So what started happening was I could feel everything going on. I'm very close to my period, I believe, as well at the moment, and I'm going through perimenopause as well. So my body had already said, no, let's go. So I ignored that. The ticket machine wasn't working, so that was the second sign. Ignored that. A lady came over and helped, very kind, gave us a ticket. So then we're sat there, and I kept saying to my family member, I need to go now. I really need to go now. And I wasn't moving, and they weren't moving. And then somebody came and sat next to me, and then they were on their phone. Anyway, without going into all the whys and wherefores, basically I had a build-up, and I went outside, and I was trying to book the appointment on my app as well. And then I went outside because I couldn't take anymore, and I just burst into tears. Absolutely burst into tears. And then we were about to leave, and my family member said, it's your appointment. It's yours now. So we went back into the reception area. My body having said, I really don't want to go back in there. Let's leave. Spoke to the woman at reception. There were no appointments. There were no appointments for my doctor anyway, which I already knew. So it was very, very interesting. And I'm sharing this because there is so much going on. My body said, let's go. I didn't listen to that. My body then said, let's go again. I didn't listen to that. My body then said, let's really go now. And just as we were leaving, we went back in again. So it's so important that we listen to that first instinct. Our body knows. My body absolutely knew. Okay, fine. I don't have the shoulda, woulda, coulda. What was happening was because I wanted to go, my family member was saying, well, don't we have to cancel our ticket then for the queue? And the only way to cancel the ticket for the queue was to wait in line. So there was no way we could cancel it. They just would have had to call it, and then we didn't show. I'm sure that happens a lot. So I then went into the energy of, we have to do this, we should, rules, 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 rather than what did my body actually want at that moment, and that was to leave. And we spent an extra however many, maybe half an hour there for absolutely no reason at all. No reason at all. And the woman in reception said, no, it's not that the app's not working. Your doctor doesn't have any appointments. She told me a trick to try and get the appointment. So all I'm going to do now is just listen to my body. My body did not want to go into that environment. My body had already done this to me. And my family members had various appointments where I was going to be present. And my body did this to keep me in a safe, comfortable environment. And this is exactly what I was shown. It's so important that we really, really, really look after ourselves. And my intuition was, I don't need to see the nurse. That was the first time to listen to it. So the reason I'm sharing this is we're all human. We can all get a little bit taken with other people's influences and opinions. And as much as I advocate, you listen to yourself, listen to yourself, listen to yourself, I did find myself listening to other people rather than making my own decisions. So it's really, really important that we stick with what we know is absolutely right for us, because all those people around us, we know they're just trying to help us. If we feel so instinctively what is best for us, and then we go against that, we're going to be given feedback. I was given huge feedback. So this feels really important to share today, just at the moment that it happened. So I'm lying under the tree. I have the pillows up underneath my ankles. Sun is shining on me, which is very gorgeous. And my body's saying, well, this is all I wanted. I didn't want to get into a car and be driven somewhere and then be dropped off outside and have to try and navigate being in a building when that's the most that I've walked, and be surrounded by people who aren't very well. So as intuitive empaths, as highly, highly sensitive people, it's so important that we really, really look after ourselves. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because this is just what happened to me, and we can have all the tools in the book. We can do all of our meditations. We can do all of our preparation. And if there's somewhere that we just don't take that intuition, that advice, that gut instinct, we're given feedback. And what's really important is when we're given that feedback is how we deal with it. So mine needed to release. I couldn't even get it into a yawn. It was so full up in me. I just had to cry. And so I cried, and I was sobbing outside the hospital. And that was how it needed to be released. And then I remembered, I have Passiflora in my bag. So I had the passiflora afterwards, and that started to calm me down. What's calmed me down the most, to be perfectly honest, is not being in that building. So I came back, I had a salt shower, put salt in my hair, salt everywhere, did an aura cleanse, and now I'm under the tree. So if there's anything coming up for you, my gorgeous, and it can be absolutely anything, and I know if we have job interviews or if we have, we can get stage fright, etc. I'm not talking about that, because that's the body going into battle, if you like, to protect you in that environment. I'm not talking about the newness of things. I'm not talking about going into new opportunities and when you feel your heart rate goes up, etc., so forth, because it's new, and that's what our limbic brain does, that's what our body does. It's something new, so it goes into battle for us. I'm talking about if there's something that feels so wrong, something that you've said yes to, something that you've booked, and it just doesn't feel right at all. Listen to that. And if you don't listen to that and something happens in the way that it did for me, just say thank you for the feedback, because now I'm calm, now I'm under the tree, now I'm really grateful that I was shown on numerous occasions this morning what my body really needed, and I went against that. So it's so important that we listen to our bodies and our nervous systems and what really works for us, because we're not all the same. I am hugely sensitive, and this is why I do this podcast. I am hugely sensitive. I feel so much, and it's got even stronger. Over the years, it's got stronger and stronger and stronger. It's an absolute gift. I just was reminded, with any situations like that, listen to yourself first. When we're completely grounded, because I came under the tree for a couple of minutes before I left to go to the appointment, and I knew my intention was that everybody there was there to help me. My intention was, I went in with the right intention, and I just stayed too long. That's all it was. I stayed too long. I made the agreement that I would go in and I would be out, and I stayed too long. I went against what was absolutely right for me in that moment. And that's all it was. So we're being given instant feedback. And in this year of the fire horse, it's fast. It's really fast. So if there's anything that is not aligning with us and we're moving forward, because now we're out of eclipse season, Mercury has gone direct and we're in that shadow period. If there is anything at all that doesn't align with who we truly are, that we're aligning towards, that's going to go. And anything that isn't for us will give us instant feedback. So that felt really important to share, because if you're finding, I'm doing the inner work, I'm really trusting my intuition, I'm feeling into this, and things are leaving around you, relationships are changing, they will, because you're changing the relationship with yourself, because you're having more self-respect, more self-compassion. It's natural that things are going to change around you. And if there's any environments, people, places, things, they're going to go as well. And although, yes, we are in the new moon, so it's really important that we focus on absolutely what works. I'm just saying to you that there may be feedback if you're going against something that that really works for you. That's the message just came up so strongly, because really feeling back into our bodies, with the eclipse season, as highly sensitive people, intuitives, etc., creative sensitives, it can be so easy to leave our bodies. What my ankle injury has done is brought me back into my body, so I can really feel into my body and really trust my body. That is where our answers are. Our answers are in our body, that gut instinct. Our solar plexus is attached to our intuition. It's attached to our third eye. We feel it in our stomachs first. Before we know anything with our third eye, the two are connected. It's the intuition in our solar plexus that guides the knowing in our third eye. with chakras. So it's so important that we just absolutely listen and feel. And when I say listen, it's feel, it's that sensation. You know, when you get like the goosebumps, when you get the hairs going up on your arms, or you just feel it so strongly. No. If you're getting a no or a stop, then really listen to that, my gorgeous. Okay, so I'm not scaremongering. I'm just saying that in these times, with all that's going on in the world, there is a tendency to have elements of fear around us. So it's choosing love over fear. And my love today was, okay, I forgive myself for not listening the first time. I forgive myself for not listening the second time, the third and the fourth. And I choose love. And I allowed the release. I allowed the feedback. And I'm sharing this with you out of love as well. So to quote Kristos, I'm contributing to the opposite, because even though I went into that environment and there was a lot of fear there, and I started feeling people's emotions and illnesses and all the rest of it, there's one point I thought I was actually going to pass out when a woman was standing next to me. So it's really, really listening. Is this environment a good environment for me to go to? Is there another way? And if you have is this environment for me, and your body just says no, is there another way? Yes, there's always another way. Now I'm under the tree of love. I have met some very beautiful people this morning who absolutely helped me. I just stayed too long. That was it. And so that was when my body said, no, that's too much. And that was my reaction. My action was tears and sobbing, because my body didn't know how else to communicate to me, this is too much. I did all of my protection before I left. I did protection whilst I was in that reception area. It was just too much for my nervous system. It was too much for my ankles, because it was the most I'd walked in the past 2 weeks. My body's been used to being held for the past 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's put into a stressful environment, and it was too soon, and it wasn't necessary. Our body knows. My body knew. Just go under the tree, put your feet up, you'll be fine. When you leave on the 31st, we'll make sure of that. That environment at this current moment in time, as I'm healing, is not a place for me to be. I'm not saying that I can't be there in the future, just at the moment where I am in this current time, in this moment, is not a place for me. So when we contribute to the opposite, it feels so different. So because I went against everything that my body was telling me, that was my feedback. And as I said, this can happen when we're not listening. I had my accident 10 years ago was because I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to leaving the environment of the company that I was working for that wasn't the best environment, to be perfectly honest. So my body said, right, well, we'll just stop you then, and put me on my backside. And then my body completely changed. My whole life changed. And I was just given the reminder today that how quick, with the year of the fire horse, it's very, very quick. So with the year last year we had with the wood snake, with the shedding, so we might still feel a little bit sensitive from that. As we're forging forward into the year of the fire horse, now we've come out of the eclipse season with all of that. And the episode that I shared on Sunday was about allowing the settle. A very good friend of mine said this before: when you think you're better after being ill, give it another 2 days. So it's so important that we really, really listen to our bodies, my gorgeous. It's so, so important. And with the fire horse year, because the fire horse is the chariot charging forward, it's really important as empaths, as sensitives, as creatives, that we do go at our own pace. Because if we get our ankle caught around the reins and we're shot off into the distance, bobbing along behind the horse. That's not going to help anybody. We want to absolutely move forward into our passions at our own pace, because if we go too quickly, we're going to get to burnout. If we go too quickly, our body's going to say, this is too much for me. It's recognizing what is our pace. And there is an episode that I did entirely on this when we were in the wood snake year, was recognizing our own pace and going at that. And as the world is speeding up with all that's going on in the world and with the Fire Horse year, it's really important that we honor our pace. And if there's anything that you're hugely passionate about, and it's coming up, launch yourself into that with abundance. With abandonment. Just launch yourself into that. That's wonderful. It's a time for feeling into that. And the birds are agreeing with me. It's certainly not the moment to feed into other people's fear, to feed into the fear of the world. So choose love over fear, my gorgeous. Feel absolutely what works for you. Remember, if anybody's telling you any different, it's because they do care for you. They are not you. They don't understand. So any advice you're given, I would filter it through your body. Even listening to this, if any of this doesn't resonate with you, fine. If you're charging ahead and you're feeling absolutely wonderful, running along, go with that, my lovely. We all have different paces. My pace is very gentle. I'm a projector. I'm a highly intuitive empath. I'm a medium and I'm a channel. And my pace has to go at my pace. And I was diagnosed with central sensitivity syndrome, so I have to be very, very careful. And the feedback I'm given when I'm not is, well, we're going to make you stop then. And especially with healing, because my ankles are still healing, especially with healing, it's really important to go at our own pace. Yes, we can gently test it and then we rest. Gently test it and then we rest. And I feel for this world at the moment, that's a good place to go, is test it. How does that feel? Listen to your body. Body says no. Okay, rest. Do that with everything, my lovely. Absolutely everything. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope that helped you. Love to hear from you. Do get in touch with me if there's anything going on with you. And if there's anything you particularly like me to cover as well, do get in touch with me. And so much love. And we will be under the tree, I hope, so you can see it next week. So much love. You've got this. Ho. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Accepting. Please do stay tuned for future episodes and also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.